Hi everyone, my name's Laura and I'm a feminine energy and masculine energy coach, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to shift from being a woman operating predominantly from her masculine energy to predominantly in her feminine energy. And this topic is really the basis for how I got into this topic of feminine energy, which is my absolute passion, because I was operating from my masculine most of the time, up until about 5 years ago, when I started to realize, okay, this is what I'm doing and these are the effects that it's having on my relationships. And when I started to shift certain things in myself, all my relationships started shifting around me, and particularly my romantic relationships. So we as women are so capable. A lot of us are very left-brained. We're very good at being organized and being goal-oriented, being very productive, and really that's come from such an early age that, in particular in my generation and above, we were rewarded for those traits, and we weren't so much rewarded, or we were sometimes punished for the more feminine traits of being connected with our bodies and our emotions, from being told to finish all the food on our plate for dinner before we get dessert, rather than actually listening to our bodies about when we're full, or being rewarded for when we fell over in the playground and we didn't make too much of a fuss about it. And so those traits were just suppressed and suppressed and suppressed. And what happens is that then we operate then from our masculine, which for us women is a finite resource and will eventually lead to becoming burnt out, which is what happened to me. So when we can start to step it more into the feminine resource, this is infinite, and this is our innate energy, and it's so beautiful when we can connect with that side of ourselves. It's like this whole new side of myself that I discovered, and it's my intention, my purpose, to share this with as many people as possible. So the first tip I would say is to really become friends with your feelings. So many, well, I'll speak for myself. I was so used to pushing down my feelings, and if somebody asked me if I was okay, I would just answer with, yeah, I'm fine. And what would happen is then this would lead to like big emotional explosions later down the line, mostly with people that I was the closest to, so my romantic relationships or my family or close friends. And it was because I had been disconnected from my feelings, well, forever really. And so when I really took the time to actually be with those feelings, so when they begin with this kind of niggling feeling, that might start at the beginning of a day, for example, and I might just push it to one side, and I would distract myself with chores or TV or food, and then this feeling would just be growing and growing inside of me, and I wouldn't even be aware of it, and then it would come out later down the line, and I wouldn't even know where it would come from. So now what I do is, when I notice that first niggle, I make time to take myself away and really be with that feeling, and to just name it, and to really just acknowledge and allow it without the feeling that it's bad or that it has to pass, but just like I notice that I'm feeling really agitated, and then to find out what's underneath that, then I notice that I'm feeling deeply sad about whatever happened yesterday. I notice that underneath that sadness, I'm feeling really lonely, because those feelings are just an energy in motion, and they just want to be seen so that they can pass. And then a deeper version of that would be to do some inner child work. And I would really encourage anyone who has never explored this before to explore it. And in the end, it's really very simple, and you can find a practitioner to support you with this. But really the aim would be that you can access this these inner children that we all have in ourselves, by yourself whenever you need. And really what happens is that when we experience a trauma in our younger years, when a situation arises and we were not, those emotions in us were not acknowledged by our caregivers, these children kind of become trapped within us. And the thing is that these children in us hold such deep emotions that want to be seen, but the emotions are on this spectrum. So if they're holding a lot of sadness because that sadness wasn't seen in them and they didn't feel like someone was there for them when we were younger, then that sadness also holds the key to joy. And anger, for example, if that anger was suppressed in them. So I have this theory that for a lot of women, anger was very much suppressed in us, and for men, sadness is suppressed. So for a lot of us women, if that anger is not given permission to come out, then this limits our excitement, which for me is the flip side of the coin to anger. So all these emotions, for me, this whole spectrum, there is no good or bad. They just are emotions that on the human level, in this human experience that we're in now, want to be seen and want to come out to play. Because that's the thing about our inner children, is that they also hold the key to our joy. And so if we're numbing all those seemingly uncomfortable negative emotions, then we're also numbing the joy and excitement that this life offers us. So another way to connect with the inner child is to think back and to a time when you really felt so playful, and before maybe this more systematic societal program of, okay, what should I be doing? But what do I want to do? What do I feel like doing right now? What kind of things did you enjoy doing as a kid? And then which of those can you bring forward into your adult life now to reconnect with that inner child? So my second point is about surrender. This is a really big feminine attribute and something that a lot of us women are really not good with. So first and foremost, surrender for me begins with a surrender to a higher power, so universe or God or whatever. And this means the acceptance of things that happen that are beyond our control, and to really just allow the flow of life to run through our bodies, and to really just ride the waves of life. And this control also then carries into our relationships. So let's say, for example, with our man, where we feel like we want to control a certain outcome, we want to control him. And a part of being a feminine energy woman in a relationship is surrendering the problem solving and organization to the man. So even when we think we have the best or right solution for something, but to actually allow the man the time to come up with a solution which may surprise you and may be even better than the one that you had thought of. And to really just take this step back and become more the observer in the relationship, and to not always feel the need to be one step ahead of the guy. And part of that is also to really fine-tune our listening skills. So how many of us really actually listen? Really listen when the guy comes home from work and tells you what he's been up to that day, instead of our minds which are going, like trying to think of like, oh yeah, I want to tell him that I also did this and I also got stuck in traffic. But to actually listen and be there for him, and then just really reflect that back to him in a feeling statement. So, oh, that must have felt really exciting that you were able to go to the pub after work and then watch your favourite football team win. You must be over the moon. And then that man really feels like, yeah, you're really with him. You know, he's got someone in front of him in his life to come home to that really understands him and is not going to try and problem solve for him. So if he comes home and he had a bad day at work again and, you know, saying something like, well, you know, why don't you just get another job? You know, this is problem solving. This is up for the man to do. But by reflecting back to him, wow, you've had another, you know, bad day at work. That must feel really frustrating. I know that you've been really struggling recently. Then, if necessary, the man is then able to feel that within himself, that maybe he needs to make some kind of change in his life. But that's really not down to us as the woman. My next point is about vulnerability. This is a key aspect of feminine energy, is that when we are able to connect with our own emotions deeper and accept and become friends with all our emotions, then we're able to share that with others. And this is one of the most difficult parts of relating, is vulnerability, but it is, I think, the most important part. And really, without true vulnerability, there is no true connection. There are so many relationships, both friendship and romantic, where there is no real vulnerability. Sometimes it looks like there is, but there isn't. If something's easy to say and express, then it's really not that vulnerable. And those connections are operating on a very superficial level. And there's a reason for that, because it is scary to really open up our heart and show who we really are. But how can people really know who we are and really connect with our true versions of ourselves without doing that? And when we're vulnerable with others, we invite them to do the same. So by being vulnerable with our man, you know, and by expressing whatever emotion is there, you know, without putting that onto him. So instead of like, you're making me so angry right now, or calling, you know, name calling, or expressing judgment, or telling him what he should and shouldn't say, but just by saying like, I feel so hurt. I feel so hurt. I feel so sad. And really just leaving those words in the air to be processed by him is one example of vulnerability. This is such a huge topic, but I'm just going to touch on it for this one here. And the last point I want to talk about is receiving. This is also a key component of feminine energy, is to receive. And the thing about receiving is that it's not about walking around all day just receiving from everybody and not giving back. But the thing is that as women, we have been taught that we have to give back in the same way as men give. And so, for example, I talked about this in a previous video. If someone compliments us, the way that we get, particularly a man, the way that we give back is to share how that compliment makes us feel. I feel just so lit up hearing that, for example, and really just fighting the urge to either give back straight away, and also I would say, like, really try to be aware of the times that we're saying just thank you. Because I've noticed that in times when I say just thank you, I don't really feel that in my body unless I really take it in, like, oh, thank you so much, you know. And I find that by touching a part of my body, then I notice where I feel that gratitude. But I really try to just share the feeling instead, or at least as well as saying thank you. And so, for example, a gift, someone buys us a gift, we feel that we have to give something back. Actually just sharing how that gift has upgraded our life in some way or makes us feel is the way that the feminine gives back. And again, for me, receiving starts first and foremost from receiving from the universe. And so every day, you know, expressing gratitude, like, thank you so much for this beautiful sunny day. Thank you so much for all these beautiful flowers around me today. Thank you so much that I have food in the fridge. Thank you so much for all the wonderful friends I have in my life. That means so much to me. And when we can practice receiving from the universe, which is maybe a safer place to start, we can then shift that onto receiving from everybody in our lives. And again, the receptivity is such a huge topic, but I'm just touching on it now. So I think that's all my points. This is a really brief summary of how to turn this ship around from operating from the masculine to the feminine. But I have other videos about this. I also have resources on my website and on my Instagram. And if you have any questions or comments about this topic, then please feel free to post below. And have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.